The durable performance system explained. Most performance problems do not begin with lazy people. They do not usually begin with a lack of talent. They do not usually begin because people suddenly stop caring. More often, performance problems begin with the system around the work, the incentives, the authority structure, the information flow, the accountability rhythm, the consequences that are either enforced or avoided. That is the central idea behind the durable performance system. Performance is structural. It is shaped by the conditions people operate in every day. If the system rewards the wrong behavior, people will adapt to it. If authority is unclear, decisions will slow down. If information is filtered or softened, leaders will lose the signal. If accountability is vague, follow through will weaken. If consequences are inconsistent, the stated standard will stop meaning what leaders think it means. The durable performance system is a way of looking at those conditions clearly. It is not a motivational system. It is not a productivity hack. It is not a call to push people harder. It is a framework for understanding why organizations perform the way they do, why they drift over time, and what leaders can redesign if they want performance that lasts. Because durable performance is different from temporary performance. Temporary performance can come from pressure. It can come from urgency. It can come from a heroic push. It can come from a few strong people carrying more than they should. But that kind of performance, it's fragile. It depends on intensity. It depends on personal sacrifice. It depends on leaders constantly intervening to keep the system moving. Durable performance is different. Durable performance is repeatable. It is supported by clear standards, clean decision rights, honest information, aligned incentives, and consistent follow through. It does not mean people are never tired. It does not mean every process is perfect. It does not mean leaders avoid pressure. It means the organization is designed so performance does not rely only on exhaustion, personality, memory, or heroics. That matters because many organizations do not fail all at once. They drift. They drift when small exceptions become normal. They drift when decisions take longer than they should. They drift when meetings replace ownership. They drift when bad news gets softened before it reaches leadership. They drift when high performers are allowed to damage the system because their output is valuable. They drift when everyone is busy, but the work is not getting clearer. From the outside, it may look like a people problem. From the inside, it often feels like frustration, but structurally, something else is happening. The organization is teaching people how to behave. That teaching does not happen only through training or value statements. It happens through what gets rewarded, what gets promoted, what gets ignored, what gets tolerated, what gets delayed, what gets escalated, what gets protected, what carries consequence, and what does not. The durable performance system looks at 5 forces that shape performance: incentives, authority, information flow, accountability, consequence. When those forces are aligned, performance becomes cleaner. When they are misaligned, the organization begins producing friction, distortion, delay, and drift. Let's break them down. The first force is incentives. When people hear the word incentives, they often think about pay, bonuses, or compensation. Those matter. But incentives are much broader than money. Incentives include recognition, promotion, access, protection, visibility, forgiveness, status, flexibility, attention from senior leaders. The real incentive system is not what the organization says it values. The real incentive system is revealed by what advances. If a company says teamwork matters, but consistently promotes people who hit numbers while damaging trust, the organization has created an incentive. If a leader says quality matters, but only rewards speed, the organization has created an incentive. If people learn that raising risks makes them look negative, while staying quiet protects them, the organization has created an incentive. People pay attention to what the system actually rewards. And over time, the organization becomes what it rewards. That is why durable performance starts with incentive clarity. Leaders have to ask, what behavior are we actually rewarding? What behavior are we protecting? What behavior are we accidentally encouraging? And what behavior are we claiming to dislike while continuing to advance? The second force is authority. Authority determines who can make decisions, who must be consulted, who can block action, and who owns the outcome. Many teams do not move slowly because they lack effort. They move slowly because authority is unclear. People are responsible for results, but they do not have the authority to make the decisions required to produce those results. So they wait. They escalate. They ask for approval. They loop in more people. They protect themselves. They revisit the same issue in another meeting. This creates approval drag. Approval drag is the friction that forms when decisions have to move through more layers than the work actually requires. Good leaders should not remove all controls. That is not the point. The point is to design authority clearly. Who decides? Who advises? Who must be informed? Who can veto? Where does escalation belong? What decisions should stay close to the work? Without clear authority, accountability weakens. Because people cannot be fully accountable for outcomes, they are not empowered to shape. The third force is information flow. Every organization runs on signal. Leaders need accurate information about what is happening. Teams need accurate information about priorities, constraints, trade-offs, and risks. But information often gets distorted. Sometimes it is delayed. Sometimes it is softened. Sometimes it is over-polished. Sometimes it is buried in reporting. Sometimes people stop telling the truth because the system punishes bad news. When that happens, leaders lose the signal before they lose the performance. The problem may exist for months before it becomes visible. By the time the dashboard shows the issue, the organization may already be deep into drift. That is why information flow matters. Durable performance requires truth to move through the system early enough to matter. This does not mean every update should be dramatic. It does not mean leaders need more reports, more dashboards, or more meetings. In fact, too much reporting can create its own noise. The goal is not more information. The goal is cleaner signal. Leaders should ask, where does information get filtered? Where do people hesitate to tell the truth? Where are we measuring activity instead of reality? Where are we creating reporting burden without improving decision quality? If leaders cannot see clearly, they cannot correct early. The fourth force is accountability. Accountability is one of the most overused words in leadership. Many leaders say they want more accountability, but accountability is not created by asking people to care more. It is not created by saying, own it more often. Accountability has to be designed. It requires clear expectations, clear ownership, clear decision rights, clear follow-up, clear standards, and clear consequences. If expectations are vague, accountability will be vague. If ownership is shared by everyone, it may be owned by no one. If commitments are made in meetings but never revisited, accountability becomes optional. If people are asked to own outcomes without authority, accountability becomes unfair. Strong accountability is not harsh, it is clear. That is accountability as an operating structure, not a speech, not a slogan, a structure. The fifth force is consequence. Consequence is where the system becomes believable. Most organizations have stated standards. They have values. They have language about excellence, ownership, teamwork, trust, urgency, and accountability. But the real standard is not what is written down. The real standard is what happens after the standard is violated. If the behavior carries no consequence, the system has taught people that the standard is optional. If high performers are exempt because their output is valuable, the system has taught people that results can purchase immunity. That damages trust, it weakens culture, and it teaches everyone else that the rules are negotiable. Durable performance requires consistent consequence. That does not mean every mistake should be punished. It means standards must mean something. The organization has to know whether leadership has the discipline to protect the system. When incentives, authority, information flow, accountability, and consequence are aligned, performance becomes more durable. But when those forces are misaligned, the organization begins to drift. A team may be overloaded, a decision trapped in approval layers, a standard, clear, but inconsistent consequence. A dashboard looking clean, but the real signal is being filtered. A high performer is damaging the system. These are not isolated issues. They are structural signals. And that is why the durable performance system exists. It gives leaders a way to look beneath symptoms. Not just why are people slow, but where is the system creating drag? Not just why aren't people accountable, but have we designed accountability clearly enough to be real? Not just why did this problem happen again, but what condition keeps reproducing this problem? That shift matters. Because if a leader misdiagnoses a structural problem as a people problem, the solution will usually be pressure. And pressure may only make the system more exhausted. The better question is, what does the system make easy? What does it reward? What does it tolerate? What does it protect? What does it punish? Those questions reveal the real operating system. The durable performance system is built for leaders, managers, and founders who want to understand performance at that level. For people who are tired of solving the same problem repeatedly. The goal is not perfection. The goal is durability, performance that can last, performance that is supported by the structure around it. If this way of thinking is useful, the best next step is to go deeper. Visit curtisstokes.com, explore the drift diagnostic, and examine where structural drag may be forming in your organization. And subscribe to this channel for more on organizational drift and durable performance. Because performance is not just about how hard people work. Performance is structural. And if you want performance to last, you have to manage the system that produces it.